An 18-year-old football player went to an island on July 4th. He never came home. What happened to Nolan Wells? Tonight, we look at the case that has captivated millions online, the unanswered questions, and the investigation still unfolding. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old, a standout football player, and a 2025 graduate of Ocean Springs High School in Mississippi. He was a rising sophomore on the Southwest Mississippi Community College football team. His family describes him as a good swimmer, a dedicated athlete, and a young man with a bright future. On July 3rd, he went to a friend's house to spend the night. The next day, July 4th, he headed out on a boat trip with 3 friends to Horn Island, a remote barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi coast.
Here's what we know. The boat left a private dock at 9:56 a.m. and arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources tracks every movement of that boat that day. According to the 3 friends who went with him, Nolan was last seen around 3 p.m. on the island. They say he chose to stay behind to talk with a young woman and another group of friends. At 4:31 p.m., the boat left Horn Island without Nolan. The friends say the boat was taking on water because the bilge pump had failed. One friend's mother, Jackson County Chancery Judge Ashley Cole, later confirmed in a public statement that her son, Warren, was with Nolan that day and had fully cooperated with investigators.
As night fell, Nolan never came home. Around 11 p.m. on July 4th, one of the 3 friends called the U.S. Coast Guard to report him missing. But by then, his family had already begun searching. His mother, Christine Wansley, tracked his phone using the Life 360 app. She located his phone at a residence, not on the island. A friend retrieved the phone from the home. His car was found at yet another home. Then, on July 6th, a National Park Service ranger found Nolan's body off the western tip of northwest Horn Island. Dental records confirmed the identification. From the beginning, the family had questions. Nolan's parents say they doubt he would have stayed on the island by himself. They say it simply wasn't like him. And then there's his phone. His mother says when she and her sister reviewed his Snapchat, there was nothing in the history of either of his accounts, which she found unusual. The family's attorney claims messages may have been deleted. There's also the issue of his keys. They were found separately from his phone at a different home, and the family says the teens didn't volunteer that they had his phone and keys. The GPS data shows the boat returned to the mainland, went to Fort Bayou twice, and then was trailered to Biloxi. It did not return to Horn Island that night.
Now, here's where the investigation stands. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department is leading the investigation, with assistance from the FBI. Investigators have interviewed approximately 60 witnesses, including the 3 friends who were with Nolan that day. The FBI is conducting forensic examinations of electronic devices and reviewing a large amount of digital evidence. They're also investigating threats made against some of the people who have come forward with information. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner performed an autopsy on July 7th, but the results are still pending. Toxicology tests take time, and no preliminary cause of death has been released. Once the investigation is complete, District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath says the evidence will be presented to a grand jury to determine if a crime occurred. The family hasn't been waiting for the official investigation alone. They've hired nationally known civil rights attorney Ben Crump to conduct an independent investigation. Crump, who has represented families in some of the most high-profile civil rights cases in recent years, arranged for an independent autopsy. Nolan's body was flown to Washington, D.C. for that second examination. The findings haven't been released yet. Crump says the autopsy will determine whether Nolan had any physical injuries beyond drowning. At a news conference, Crump said his team and sheriff's office investigators will review Nolan's phone together, a mutual investigation of the device. The attorney is also calling on anyone who was at Horn Island or who has credible information to come forward. This story has spread like wildfire on social media. Hundreds of millions of views across TikTok, YouTube, and other platforms. Creators from Nancy Grace to CNN to TMZ have all covered it. Why is it resonating so deeply? Part of it is the unanswered questions. But there's another layer. Nolan was black. The three friends he went to the island with were white. And this happened in Mississippi, a state with a fraught racial history. Many people online have drawn connections to that history. But experts are also cautioning against jumping to conclusions. Misinformation has spread widely on social media, and rumors have outpaced confirmed facts. The sheriff himself has said investigators have no reason to suspect foul play at this point, but the investigation is ongoing, and they're not ruling anything out.
So where does this case stand right now? Nolan Wells was laid to rest. 2 autopsies have been performed, one by the state, one by the family. Neither set of results has been released to the public yet. 60 witnesses have been interviewed. The FBI is still analyzing digital evidence. The phone, the keys, the GPS data, all of it is being examined. And eventually, whatever investigators find will go before a grand jury. For now, the investigation remains active and ongoing. And until the facts come out, the questions will keep growing. We'll keep following this story as it develops. If you have information about what happened on Horn Island on July 4th, you can contact the Jackson County Sheriff's Department or Ben Crump's office. The links are in the description below.